The biggest thing for relic weapons would be if they brought them to PvP, like a special event where you had relic weapons. I think that would be really
custom
interesting.
Custom games as well. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a bit of freeze tag with frozen drop shots, bit like Quake. That'd be pretty fun if they ever did it.
Well, we've got so many new modes now in private, haven't we? We've got
loads.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about private. That was one thing I wanted to bring up. I've got that listed in another section, but let's just transition into that. Private matches. You mentioned
in general
relic weapons. Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
No, I mean, like, do you mean like in general, like in PvE and PvP?
Oh, I was mainly thinking PvP. I don't think we're
I know they did. Didn't they add Classic Horde as a variant as well?
They did add Classic Horde.
Actually, you touched on that.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I was thinking PvP because I didn't think there was really that much more that they could offer in PvE in terms of, like, you could add the special events. I think that's probably like an Op 8 thing. It's like, okay, we're done. Here's the special events.
Yeah, here's all the events and stuff like that.
But like PvP, there's a lot they could do. They recently added a few things. There's so many things that they could add, and there's things that have been asked for a really long time. And then there's the things that could have a really big impact on allowing people to actually make fun custom games that they just don't have. And it's really disappointing that it's stuff people have wanted since Gears 1 or Gears 2. Like, choose your starting weapon. Choose, hey, I want to set all weapons on map to sniper rifle by changing one setting instead of going down the entire list. Or I want to change player health. Like, all of these...
You want Halo customs for Gears, basically.
Ideally, yes. Ideally, yes. But, like, there's a few very, very simplistic changes that would have a huge impact. Like, player health, choosing starting weapon...
Damage multiplayer.
Yeah, damage multiplayer. But, like, I think my top 3 are choose starting weapon, something that makes it easy to change all weapons on map to a certain weapon, and player health. Those are, like... If I could choose 3 things, that would be it. I'd also have, like, ammo regen and player movement speed.
Yeah.
Like, those...
I also wonder if with free-for-all in the game now, whether they can adjust friendly enemy setting dynamically during the course of a match. So you could have, like, a Halo Infection type mode in Gears in a free-for-all setting.
Yes.
Then that opens it up to so much sort of tomfoolery modes you can have then, can't you? You can have, like grenade tag is one I keep thinking I would just have an absolute laugh at with mates. You'd have one character who's got grenades and got a cloak, and then the rest of you are just trying to run around and avoid them. And then you get grenade tagged, and you have to chase after the guy who grenade tagged you to blow him up.
I wanted like a VIP thing where if you are the VIP, you're the only person who can get points. But if somebody kills you, they become the VIP in a free-for-all thing.
Yeah,
so only one person is able to get points at a time. But if someone kills that person, they become the new VIP.
That kind of reminds me of Bounty Hunter in Titanfall. Titanfall 2, that was really good mode, actually.
Yeah, that's what I knew that reminded
me. But I will say, like, the sort of focus on custom games and the private browser is just... That should have been done to begin with, because I feel like player choice when it comes to those sort of things will just only help the game and also inspire the coalition to do certain things in the future. Like, if you look at when you give players... it's kind of hot, ties into when I keep asking for mod tools, which I'm going to ask again. Please, mod tools, Unreal 5, Gears 6, thank you. When you give players tools, it's not only helping the community, it's helping the devs as well. If we look at Halo 2, where certain things were limited in terms of what the players can choose, the community created Infected, and then Infected has been a mainstay in Halo since. When you look at, just certain other modes as well, when they can actually, change the values of character speed and damage and like their health, you then started getting like variants of Infected, like Fat Man in Halo 3. where it's completely stupid, but it's also good fun. And then you also have Forge to really add on to that as well.
Yeah, and that's I think so they originally were planning on having that map editor come to private matches or like to versus stuff. I think that if they had moved forward in making that map editor usable for versus, they would have had to implement some private match stuff, or else that map editor wouldn't have been nearly as successful as it should have been. So my guess
just
is
look at the escape one. Like no one uses it.
My guess is that they scrapped
you don't get anything
that.
out of it.
Yeah, I'm thinking they scrapped that map editor, and around that same point, they were like, okay, well, we're not having the map editor. I guess we'll shift priority off of some of the private match stuff. I'm really hoping we get more.
Yeah, when it comes to that editor, I can only assume it would have worked like escapes. Right. And to be honest, this is very cynical for me to say, it would not have been enough.
No, it wouldn't.
The way it works, I understand why they did it, and like, I don't knock the idea. I definitely don't at all. You know, I think they really did try. They just said, okay, we make the tiles, we test the tiles, they know the covers work properly, we know if we connect them a certain way it'll work fine. If we release that, we don't have to do any QA on what they release then, because we know what's out there works. But the issue is, it's just very limiting. Because one, the setting's always the same. You're underground or you're frozen, like, you know, like it's all like icy or whatever. Yeah. Like it'll get very boring to look at. And Escape did get very boring to look at because it's like, oh, I've been here before for like 10 times. And also just like the creativity that it gives the player is very limiting as well, because how many variations can you have when every tile's the same? The only thing you can change really is scale and layout of how those connect. But that's not really gonna... It can change how gameplay works. I mean, we've seen it with Horde and how they, you know, experimented with that, but it still wouldn't be enough. And mod tools really is the only way you can do that, or if you really go in depth like the 343 did with Forge on Halo 5.
Right.
When you give, you know, everybody, you know, these tools to create, people will get creative and it will help everybody. I mean, you know, a map builder for modding is like the bare minimum, in my opinion, because fans will port old maps that they enjoy, and they will also make new ones as well. And if they do that, then the coalition will be like, okay, we can just focus on only new maps then, because the fans are just going to port the old ones in. They're kind of doing our job for us, and they're learning a bit of how Unreal works. You know, they're adding that to their portfolio. I was added in a Twitter thread a couple of months back of a bunch of Ubisoft devs that started with the Gears 1 editor with Gears 1 PC. And that just kind of shows you, you know, where that inspiration comes from. You know, if people have those tools, they want to create even more. So they definitely are getting there with the private browser with, like, you know, you can now get XP on there at a reduced rate, but it's XP nonetheless. You know, it gives people an incentive to play on there. The fact that you can just load it in and just be like, oh, there's an execution game happening right now, otherwise it'll take me 10 minutes to find a game. You know, it has its use. It just needs a little more, and I hope that they learn with what they can do with Gears 6 and, you know, even other games like Fortnite have really, like, you know, took on board a whole creative idea of like what the community can do with like making their own maps with the tools available. And it's been missing for so long, and Gears 1 PC like really took off its own community because of that sort of stuff. So it's just a big missed opportunity, and it's a shame, really. Like they should prioritize it.
Yeah. Well, let's shift to the opposite end of versus. Let's go from our casual, fun, private match stuff to ranked and competitive. That was a pretty serious change that they made for Operation 7.
It was a big surprise as well, wasn't it?
Not only was it a big change in the way things worked, but it's also really big in the fact that it seems like they took their old ranking system and they just threw it in the trash. And that ranking system was something that they spent a really long time working on, and it was used as an excuse for, this is why we're not doing these other things in the game. It's because we're working on this ranking system. And they finally get that out, and after all that time is basically wasted now. I mean, yeah, there's lessons learned and stuff, and hindsight 2020, but it really sucks. The fact that so much time was wasted on that ranking system that they just threw out.
Yeah, it's such a shame, but everyone had their issues with. Well, I'll just say Gears is the only game that I know that's had complete overhauls to ranking within a year. Like that's unheard of to me. Like not even Siege had that, and Siege was terrible at launch as well. So it was interesting that they did, but the first ranking system it didn't work. Let's be honest, and the second ranking system to a lot of people was too easy. So they're kind of stuck between rock and a hard place when it comes to that because they're trying these ideas and none of them are sticking, unfortunately. So I can kind of understand why they just said, "All right, fuck it, leaderboards."
Yeah.
But to be fair, I actually do agree on that change because I feel like ranked was always been pointless on Gears of War. The player base isn't there for it, and also Gears is just it's hard to really balance around because you're either good at it or you're not. There's not many people within that middle ground, to be honest. At least in my experience, it's not often.
What's the point of having ranked without actually having ranks? Or I guess it's called competitive now, but
well, it's just that's what it is. It's just like how high could you climb the leaderboard, and I feel like with Gears, that's probably the best thing you can do.
But it's time played. It's basically a time played thing. And I get that, that is a good thing to have. Leaderboards are a good thing to have. I'm glad they added them. But that
should be an extension to the ranks.
Right. That's not what a lot of people wanted. I mean, a lot of people do want leaderboards, but a lot of people also want that, I want a indication of what my skill level is.
I agree on that. There should be, but let's be honest. The ranked in Gears of War, even as far as Gears 4, meant nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Right. To me, that also was time played. So for me, nothing has changed. It just means now you just get placed between other people. Okay, this is where you're at.
I think that's it. Terry, you may have been on the call when we discussed this before, and that's the ranking system that they just moved away from was garbage. Everyone basically agrees on that. The one that they had...
It was better than the first.
I think the one at the beginning was better. It didn't feel better to the player, but it was more accurate in terms of giving you a skill rating.
I disagree. It was broken. It never worked. You'd have massive losses over things out of your control just because the enemy team left. Like, why am I losing 200 points just because someone left and it was a 4v5?
Okay. So I guess I'll change and say I think the way that... I think it could have been improved. It was on the right track. It was functioning in the way that it should. It just needed some tweaking rather than throwing it out and doing this new one. Like the machine learning type thing, to figuring out which characteristics are most important for determining your rank. I thought that was a great idea, and I still do. But and according to their data, it was giving they said that their data was showing that it was fairly accurate in terms of trying to make balanced matches and predicting people's performance. It just didn't feel right to the players.
I mean, but at the end of the day, that is what matters.
Because how it feels to the players.
Exactly. It could be super accurate and it could work, but if someone feels like it's wrong because of issues that I mentioned, then they're not going to like it, and that's just how it is. So I can see why they did change it. I didn't have an issue with the GP system, to be honest. I mean, it did have its things that were could have been tweaked as well, like the first one, as you say. But at the end of the day, I will be honest, ranked just means nothing in Gears of War to me.
Because I don't care about ranked. I don't even play ranked anymore.
I mean, I'm a super toxic competitive player. I think if Jerusalem's still in the chat, I mean, he'll agree on that. I'm just one of those guys that you just don't want to play because I just talk shit all the time because I'm just that sweaty. But it means nothing. I see a Masters rank and I'm just oh, okay. I don't care. In Gears 4, I saw Diamond 5, or just when it was just Diamond, I just didn't care. Because it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't really accurately display what your rank is. It just means you just happen to have won a couple of matches in a massive streak to keep ranking up. And that's all the GP system to me was. And I know that's why people complained about it. But to me, it just nothing changed. It's just how it presented to you have changed.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's a massive root issue with Gears of War and how ranked and competitive works with the amount of players that we have. That's just never going to be fixed, no matter what kind of coat of paint you do, be it with the competitive leaderboard or the ranking system in 4 or the ranking system that the 2 ranking systems we had in 5.
So what about their matchmaking? because they have like a back end matchmaking, like their True Skill 2.0 thing that they use for matchmaking, right?
Well, did they?
I mean, have you guys
Well-
seen the PDF on that?
Say that again. Sorry, I was kind of
The True Skill
looking at something.
True Skill 2.0 matchmaking PDF that Microsoft published.
I don't think I saw that.
No, I have not.
I
I
will.
skimmed it. I didn't deeply read
Uh,
it. Yeah.
I'll
But
try and
this-
find it and link it in the chat in a little bit for people watching on YouTube. I'll have it in the description. But to me, it sounds like they have this True Skill matchmaking system that they developed through Microsoft, and that's been used the entire time for matchmaking on the back end. At least that's what it sounds like to me. Is with the original ranking system, you had your front end thing which showed you your ranks. Gears points, it showed you your ranks. The current thing, you see your leaderboards. But for all three of those systems, the way it was matchmaking you based on your skill was the same exact thing running on the back end. At least that's how some of the recent posts have read to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
think it
if they are, then oh, sorry, Ace, I'll cut you off.
That's all right.
Carry on if you want, mate. It's fine.
You sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it might have been missing for the start of this op and the third iteration of ranked competitive or whatever.
Yeah, they recently re-enabled it. It was off at the beginning.
Hot fixed.
Which
back
people are
in.
complaining about as well.
Because it increased
yeah,
times.
because obviously,
Yeah.
that hasn't on the matchmaking. I think going back to the first one, I think the issue was technically it was like the right design and very accurate as BChaps says, but I think for actually playing and remembering that this is a game, there was too much penalty for going down, and it's like, well, it's accurate and correct and everything, but it doesn't. It's supposed to be a game, it's supposed to be enjoyable. You've got to try and buff the positives and kind of soften the negatives a bit more. Otherwise, it's just not fun. And you've got to, again, they've got to balance the requirements for both. Your top 1% super sweaty competitive. They are pros or whatever, with like the the casual ones like me that just jump in there at times, and you got to try and have a broad good experience across the way. So I think that's where the first one failed. It was too accurate, and it didn't kind of add the fun factor and the softening factor for being a game and not an actual real life competition. But I suppose when you get into the esports thing, that is real life competition. But you know what I mean with the case of ranked and home players, And with the second one, I think they tried to come up with something that was a lot more fun, and I think they kind of overshot the mark a bit and went a bit too far the other way. And then the criticism there was you've got people that are masters that actually they're silver players, or they're like me.
So think about this. When people say it feels good or it's fun, what are they saying? What they're really saying is I'm ranking up. A lot of people have trouble accepting the fact that I'm an Onyx 3 player, so if I hit Diamond, that was probably a mistake, so I'm probably going to rank back down to Onyx 3. People have a hard time accepting that. What feels good to them is ranking up.
Yes. Yeah. Or they had what felt like a really good match. It was really balanced. It was down to the wire. You weren't complete and utterly one team dominating another, like, they weren't even paying attention or the controls were plugged in, That's not fun. That's very, obviously it's like you question whether is there anything at the back end kind of measuring this out, or something thinks that, well, 4 silvers in a 4 stack is going to equal these 2 masters and a couple of bronze or silvers. Like, well, no, those masters are going to wipe the floor with everyone. Doesn't matter,
You're just feeding the masters players with easy players. Like, they're just going to get like the stupid amount of kills.
Yeah.
But then what gets me is the people that are like, I want to show off my rank. I want to be a master. I want to be in the top 1,000. And then they get upset. There's like, I just end up playing the same people. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're the top 1%. That's You've climbed to the top of the mountain, and then you're upset that you're almost alone up there. I mean, what were you expecting?
They think that Gears should have a Call of Duty population, which is just, it's never going to happen anymore. Like, those days are way gone. Especially when Call of Duty is a multi-platform game with crossplay, and then Gears of War's a Microsoft crossplay game, and the PC side just has been ignored, so that's not growing.
Yeah, and I think So you need to have the high enough population to balance things properly. And then also, I think the ranking system would work well if you let it go to infinity. Like, everything, the more matches you play, the more accurate it's gauging your skill rating. And it's just, it doesn't have enough time to level out and give you that accurate skill rating. So you're seeing these larger jumps and you're getting these imbalanced matches, and it's just because things didn't really have time to settle. At least that's my guess.
Well, the problem is it's always a journey, isn't it? The game's got to learn where you go.
Right.
Dan used to say that all the time.
People have a hard time accepting that, though.
I'm getting trashed by a bronze. Like, what on earth? And it's like, well, yeah, but eventually they will be a master because they've done this time and time again, and they're really good. So it's difficult. You could see, well, a rank is an indication, but as Dana would say, a lot of the time it's an indication of where they are in their current journey, not their final point. A game hasn't got a crystal ball and go, yep, this guy's a master. It's got to learn it.
I think a big thing about ranked that I want to bring up, though, is that there are all of these questions around how matchmaking works, and these leaderboards came out, and it's like, well, wait, is this still going to be skill-based matchmaking? Is it just going to be based off of leaderboard position? Because that's just a template. There's all these questions that the Coalition has not really answered. The latest thing I saw, it seems like they use True Skill 2.0 in the background. That's the latest thing I heard. Yeah. But
I think they used nothing at the start of the op, obviously.
Right. They meant to.
It was broken. Yeah. It was broken.
The fact that they haven't
when Shawnee was replying. Sorry, chaps. I was just saying, because I saw Shawnee replying to tweets on Twitter saying, "Oh yeah, our skill-based matchmaking is just not working right now because it's sorting everyone out." But it wasn't. It was broken, but they didn't know at the time. They just thought it was sorting things out. So it's definitely working on in the background. It just wasn't clear enough to everyone because it's replied to a Twitter thread, not an actual blog post, which most people read.
And when they say, "Oh yeah, we're using skill-based matchmaking in the background," it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, what are you guys using for your skill-based thing? Are you using True Skill 2.0 like you had at launch, or are you doing it based on some new thing you came up with? Are you doing it based on leaderboard position and just claiming that that's your skill rating? It seemed like there was a lot of unanswered questions around that.
I need to read that link, that PDF in full about True Skill.
Yeah, I mean it's 24 pages long. I read it when it first came out. It's very math heavy. I have a minor in mathematics, and I am a nerdy engineer, so I love reading this type of thing. But a lot of people probably won't want to get through it. But there is
this is just making me think of uni, and it's giving me PTSD.
I'm challenging you, BChaps, for your next stream or video. You've got to take that and condense it down for the layman, and just give us the cliff notes.
I mean, so there is an intro, and there's some high level stuff in there. So I could try and do something, but most people should be able to read. Most people should be able to get a pretty decent idea out of it.
I wonder, do they reset the True Skill every new season or every time they redo the rank system? Yeah, because then that would surely
find out.
That would have raised some concerns immediately. Oh yeah, well, wait a minute, you didn't reset the True Skill, so why is that kind of gone off the rails? Okay, oops, yeah, it's not working. I mean, maybe that is how they then discovered that it's not working and fix it. But I mean, that's always been there and working in the background. But obviously, when we had the ranks, they were primarily it would lock you. I think originally lock you to the same level, wasn't it? Or within silver, you'd be within silver 1, 2, 3.
Originally, it was within plus or minus 1. Then they expanded it to plus or minus 2.
Yeah. And then they increased it to plus or minus 2. Yeah. So and then you're getting instances where, well, hang on, I'm being matched against masters, and I'm
the plus or minus 2 was supposed to be temporary also, while they just figured things out, and then I guess the population wasn't big enough, so they were like, all right, we'll just leave it at plus or minus 2.
I mean, that should show right there that the whole way that they do skill-based matchmaking just isn't enough for the player base, because they introduced it now we're getting really long wait times in games. Now people are complaining about that, so you either have people complaining this is too easy, I'm getting matched with people that should be matched with me because either they're better than me or they're worse than me and they're on my team, or it's like, okay, but then you gotta wait 10 minutes for a game. Gears does not have that population, unfortunately. That's the thing, they can't do anything.
The middle ground that I've proposed, I still would love to see how it works out. And that's basically quick match. It's rolling lobbies, but you have bots only to backfill instead of to fill the entire lobby. It's not backfilling the whole thing, it's bots to balance. So if it's 3v4, it fills to 4v4 instead of filling to 5v5. And you have quick play, and it doesn't do skill-based matchmaking, but between matches, when it reshuffles the teams and stuff, it does that to its best ability based on skill-based matchmaking, or skill-based stuff.
Isn't that just Gears 3 and any 360 era multiplayer game? Like Modern Warfare?
I've got to say...
Did that actually do a skill-based reshuffling of the teams? I don't know.
When it reshuffled, it was supposed to. That was kind of the idea of why it reshuffled.
That's basically what I want, and that's what I've proposed for a while, is you can have quick play, you can have ranked, but have something that has... Oh, and I also want there to be quit penalties in that if you quit in the middle of a match. So it's something that, like...
Yeah.
It's quick match, so it's quicker matches, you can keep going through it, but it still has that match quality where, okay, it tries to balance teams best it can between matches, and there's quit penalty, so people shouldn't be quitting. And it fills to balance with bots instead of fills to full, so that you don't end up with a crazy large bot match. And I think that would be a really nice middle ground that I would like to see. Because I think right now the playlists are suffering a lot. You have, like... Quick Match has a bunch of single life modes right now in that one playlist, which I love. If I was to go boot up right now, I'd be playing that playlist. But it's Quick Match for a single life mode. So people can quit, and that just completely throws off the balance in a single life mode. Having a single life mode in Quick Match just doesn't work out very well. And it's the snowball effect. The population's just going to end up dropping.
The playlists aren't there yet.
Yeah.
Shouldn't get up alive, should it? I say that you've got to be careful with that. I mean, I'm going to name drop Pro Gear 360, I think, for that, because he would jump in and immediately say, I don't want bots wasting my lives or being just an easy target and then ruining it for my side of the team. But then that's where, after we argued back and forth a bit on Twitter, we would say, well, you can exclude maybe bot deaths from it or something, or they...
Well, no, I think bots should not backfill at all in TDM. In King of the Hill, or a single life mode, yeah, I would rather have a bot on my team than have no bots. Like, in Execution, I would much rather have 2 bots on my team than to have it be 2v4. They're not going to waste my lives. In TDM, yes, I do not want bots because they will waste my lives. But in a single life mode or anything that doesn't have a spawn pool, yeah, I'm fine with bots.
Yeah.
It doesn't really bother me. Like in Execution, yeah, it sucks that it's not a real player, but they can be seen as a distraction while you can kind of like try and sneak around or something. So I ain't got an issue with that. It's just, I mean, I ain't got an issue with bots at the end of the day.
Yeah. I really don't think the playlists are in the right spot right now, though.
They're not.
No? Also say, Quick Match, they have...
I always expected them to condense it down to matching all of the single life modes together and matching all of the spawn modes.
I haven't got an issue with that.
They do that, right? They do that in Quick Match.
They do that now. Yeah.
They do that in Quick Match, except they also have TDM on the single life playlist.
Yeah,
which is really dumb. The explanation of the playlist says that it's single life modes.
Single life,
and then TDM's in there. I feel like they condensed it all down, and they're like, oh crap, people are going to want to play Quick Match TDM. Where do we put this? Let's just throw it in here.
Just get rid of it.
It was not in with the objective then, with the Guardian. That lot then. It's in with the single life modes. Okay, that might be a mistake.
Yeah.
TDM was a mistake.
Yeah.
TDM is an established mode, isn't it? And it
was terrible though. It was introduced to Gears, and in the console command, it's literally referred to as noob. So that's literally the only reason why it exists, and I don't like it, and it shouldn't be in competitive. It makes less sense for it to be competitive.
Popular.
Justin Bieber's popular. That doesn't mean I want him in my face all the time.
I think it should be in Quick Match in a social playlist, not a competitive version.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think this is another one of those things where I wanted to talk to Jote or have someone talk to him about this publicly, not just some private conversations about. We knew they were going to be doing playlist reorganization, and that's why I put together that proposal of this is what I would like to see, and I wanted people to discuss it. It's because they said they were going to be doing playlist changes, and then they just went and did one. Maybe they had some private backroom conversations about how it was going to be rearranged, but there wasn't really anything that the community, at least the public community, was able to be involved in. And I think they missed their marks in some spots. They definitely have some.
Yeah.
They definitely improved some stuff. Don't get me wrong there, but I think that they missed the mark in other areas.
It's funny, isn't it? When it's all rank based, then people are wanting a leaderboard, and then when it's leaderboard based, people are like, "Wait, where's my rank? I want that." I mean,
Well,
I don't know exactly why they're mutually exclusive. I'm thinking maybe once they've got some numbers and balance out, maybe at the beginning of Op 8, they can reintroduce it and say, "All right, well, the top 1,000 are masters, the ones that are in the top 2,000 are."
No, they can't do that because
That's gonna
I mean,
infuriate a lot of people. if they do that.
well, hang on, let me explain. The numbers I'm giving are just an indication, but they would move with the.
No, but the reason they can't do that is because the leaderboards are purely a amount of time played. You could idle boost and be top 1,000 just because you're getting win bonuses or whatever. So
that's not
win
enough. To be
bonuses
fair.
are idle.
You only get like a win bonus. Like if you win, you get like 2,000 points. on
Oh
top of
yeah,
what you
but
have.
I guess my point is you can't Masters, Diamond, Onyx. That's supposed to be something representative of skill, and so you can't link that to the leaderboards because the leaderboards are not represent. To some degree, yeah, they may represent skill, but the majority of it is the number of matches played.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
I also have a
I
hard
don't
time
know.
talking about it because I stick to private match and quick match for the most part. I don't care about ranks.
Yeah, I know. Because
I mean,
we don't play
if-
rank, we shouldn't really be commenting, should we, BChaps? As we've been
Yeah.
told many times.
I mean, here's the thing: like in any proper game, ranking is always time based. So, like to me, it literally changes nothing
What do you
in
mean?
in any game.
What do you mean?
Well, so
rankings?
if you play Siege, CS:GO, League of Legends, etc., Overwatch, you'll only ever be a good rank if you put the time into it, and the leaderboard position is no different to me whatsoever. All it changes is that you got an icon next to your name saying you're this because you've won this amount of matches and you've been playing enough to accurately represent where you're at. Like it just doesn't change anything to me because, like as we said before, with the matchmaking, when they did change it to like the 2.0 matchmaking with GP, it became +2 -2 anyway because the player base wasn't there to support the higher ranks. And the fact that we've changed to, well, I say changed to, but the fact that it's been turned on again because it wasn't working at the start with competitive, the SBMM, like it just shows once again the 1% of players just there isn't enough there to sustain it, especially when it comes to stacks. So this is why I just think the whole concept of ranked or competitive in Gears of War pubs is utterly pointless because not that it's pointless, it's just because we can't sustain it. We just can't.
I think,
and there's nothing they can do about it unless they just magically get 100,000 players out of nowhere that are active daily.
Yeah, I think leaderboards are the right thing for Gears to have. There's a lot of people who miss having actual rank, like skill-based ranks. But I'm biased, but I'm kind of in the camp of I just want to see those go away and be a thing of the past.
Okay, so
play the game
here's
for
an
fun.
idea.
If you want to,
maybe we should switch back to the Halo 3 way of skill-based matchmaking, where it was your rank. Your rank was your skill. That'd be interesting.
Should it just be that the ranks are your personal journey? You start out at whatever, and the game just says, "Well, you didn't do very well tonight compared to yesterday, so you go down." It's based on your own personal performance, and then as you get better and you do better, it goes, "Okay, all right, well, you go up through your personal journey, and you get to masters." And it's obviously got to be a bit more hard on you because it's judging you by your own work. I suppose maybe some people might try and goad it by playing really badly at the start and then try and play really well afterwards, but you could probably put measures in place to kind of balance that out. But you make the ranks more of a personal journey, and then you have the leaderboards, which like you say, as with most games, it's pretty much these guys have got all the time to play on the game, and there you go. It's time played, and yeah, well done, you on the leaderboard. But or you take it maybe the leaderboard should be more if they got rid of limitations on the score in a game, and it's just the leaderboards are the people that get the most kills in the match, or the ones that get the most downs, revives, kills, etc., or the ones that get the most caps, or that lot, in a game, and it's more on that kind of basis, if you see what I mean. And
I
then
think it's meant to
depends how
be.
well you did in that game. Yes, the people who play it more often have more of a chance of getting that really golden, perfect game where they pretty much did everything solo, and the other 4 players stood around scratching their butts or something, and they managed to wipe the other team. I mean, that would be amazing, and that would get them like 10,000, 100,000 score points in that match, and then that puts them way up on the leaderboard, sort of thing. Maybe they should go more that kind of route rather than what we've had before. I don't know. I'm not a PvP, but I mean that's basically the only other thing they can try at this point that they haven't tried before, is make it more on a personal ability, personal score basis, and yeah.
I mean,
Focus
that's
on
what
that.
it's kind of meant to be. So with how it works is your points on the leaderboard are the points you got at the end of the game. So if you had an assist, like before, it'd be like if you had an elimination, you get the full points for the elimination. Okay, here's 15 GP for the elimination, even if you did 1 damage. Now with the point system, it's like, okay, you did this amount of damage, you get 50 points, and that towards the elimination. And then that 50 points reflects on the point system. So you can't. So people that just used to like shoot someone's toe and get like the full kill, they can't do that anymore. So that's why I say they can't really get carried on the leaderboard, because they're not going to get as many points rewarded to them for doing that. And when it comes to like with Chaps saying idle boosting, like of course that could happen, but if you only get like 2,000 for the win, well, you would have had maybe got 4,000 for the whole game.
I don't
then
have
the 2,000 on top.
I don't have an issue with that for the leaderboards, with people like idle boosting for leaderboards and stuff.
Yeah.
But my issue was when you were saying, or he was saying, let's tie Masters and Diamond and stuff to your leaderboard position.
Oh, right, yeah. I can understand that. But, you could also argue with the old ranking system that people were getting carried through for literally doing nothing just to have the GP system worked and eliminations. But with the competitive system and how it works on the leaderboards, it's always going to be time-based when it comes to leaderboards. There's nothing you can do about that. But at least those who play actively will get accurately put on the leaderboard where they're supposed to be. And that could be the top 2,000 people, let's say. Like, they're the ones that play Gears every single day. Then the rest just don't really care. They play it now and then. So it just doesn't really...
Oh, hang on. We're overlooking something really simple here. Should they not just divide your score by the number of matches you've played?
No, because if you steamroll a team, then that match is extremely quick, and your for that match might not be very high. Versus if you're evenly matched against a team and it takes a really long time, your score will be a lot higher.
I can't comment on it because I can't really think about the pros and cons of doing something. But see, I don't think the system currently in place is actually that bad. I feel like it does really sort out those who got carried and those who actually played well and got rewarded for it. So, in terms of how the leaderboards work in themselves, I'm fine with.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the way the leaderboards work.
Yeah, as long as the data is accurate, not an issue. I actually prefer it to the ranking system because of what I've said previously.
But some people do miss the ranking system. I think we should just
people miss ranking up easily because Masters was easy. But that's why people didn't like ranking in Overwatch, because if you ever played Overwatch, you'd hear, "Oh, I'm in Elo hell. I can't leave platinum free." Yeah, because you are platinum free. Tough luck. Like, that's just how it is.
So, what would you like to see? Not based on the ranking system, but just playlist organization. What would you like to see changed there?
TDM removed. No need for it to be competitive. It's called noob in the code. Keep it as that. Quick play. If people want to play TDM, that's fine. Keep it there. It shouldn't be competitive. There's nothing competitive about it.
It really 1,000% agree on
that. In terms of other things, I don't know why we haven't got Execution 2.0 escalation on there yet. The pro teams play it. It's in the pro scene. it is the competitive modes, yet people in pubs cannot play the competitive modes. It doesn't make any sense. That needs to be changed. Apart from that, perhaps being able to search multiple playlists at once, like Titanfall 2. Modern Warfare also has that in Cold War. I see no reason why that can't be a thing, because then you are technically decreasing matchmaking time in all modes, because people can search multiple at once. So if they're like, okay, we've got a 4-stack, let's search Control, Guardian, and maybe Exhalation and Execution. That way, then you don't have people just focusing on the one mode, because people can be like, okay, we can spread it out a little bit.
Yeah.
That just makes more sense to me, because then not one game mode's dead. Like, people can just have it in their search, and they'll always find it now and then, while also searching for the main stuff that they see.
That would be some of the quality of life improvements that we would love to see, that maybe they could squeeze in or not. I mean, there's a lot they could take from Halo, like you said, the like the social browser, where you can just pick and mix, you can just tick on and off modes to search, and then it will find other people. I don't know quite how it works out then, which one to go into, or toss a coin or something, but
it just whatever comes up first. That's how it works.
Yeah. And then there's other improvements as well, like when you're searching in Halo, it will start to build the lobby, so you can quickly see that I'm sat here waiting for 5 minutes, but that's because we're only missing 2 people, as opposed to you haven't got a clue at the moment.
Well,
and
we haven't had that
I'm
since
fed up
UE.
waiting and I quit.
We had that in UE, and we never had it again.
I mean, that kind of works for quick match, but in competitive, it seems to me like it matchmakes and it tries to find a group that can all meet, like they can all be balanced and meet a criteria, and then if it doesn't find it, it starts from scratch and tries to find a new bunch.
Yeah,
because if you find if it slowly builds up and you have like 8 out of the 10, or I guess competitive is now 4v4, so if you have 6 out of the 8 people, it needs to find those last 2 people to fill the spot. Maybe the ranks or whatever are so mixed up in those first 6 people that it's having a hard time finding someone who can actually balance it, and it would be better off just starting from scratch.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Sometimes you do see that thing, you see it, he just gives up and starts again. You go, oh, fine, all right, whatever. Yeah. And then you either get fed up and you go off and do something else, or you're like, well, maybe better luck this time, and you watch it build up. And you do see like great big chunks appear. Suddenly you see like 4 players join in all together. You can see it's doing something and working it out. At the moment, all we've got is up the top where it's saying it's doing those things when it's doing them, but I don't believe it. I think it keeps rotating through those words, searching, expanding. It's not doing it when it's saying it, is it? I'm pretty sure we all know that. It's just reiterating the same steps that it's doing, but you don't know when it's doing them, or how far it's built, or who it's found, or whether at least some sort of visual progression is something in Halo, and it at least gives the player something to see and to be a little bit more patient and hang around. But it's maybe a big thing, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but I always thought it was good when I saw it in there, and it did usually make me stick around and be a patient just a bit longer. But there were times then when you think, I'm just waiting for that last person, those last 2 persons, and then it just goes, oh, give up. Usually because someone in that group has had, I don't know, has given up, and then it's got to rebuild it all again, like you say, especially when it comes to ranked and it's trying to work it out. It's not perfect. Nothing ever is. There isn't. I mean, if there was a perfect answer to all this stuff, someone would have done it by now. And Gears, being the niche that it is, being the fact that they compare it to a fighting game as well, because of the close quarters in it that you don't generally have in the other games. They're all a bit more of a distance shooter. If I'm explaining that correctly, but you know what I mean. Hopefully, it's got its own set of challenges on there, and anything that they can kind of use to improve matters would be welcome, I should think. But it's a balancing act with everything, and that's the problem. And with such a varied community, no matter which way they slightly pull or steer to, there's a lot of people in the other camp that then start yelling. So I do feel bad for them that whenever they try and do anything, it's like a tower of Jenga, and they're trying to move one little piece here to line it up a little bit better, not realizing that they're knocking something else out. It's
They've got these like spinning plates that they're all trying to manage, and they can't do it. Yeah,
you've got the casual PvP players, you've got the ranked and the competitive. sweats. Sorry, for lack of a better word, not trying to be disrespectful there or anything. Then you've got the
Nah, just say
PvE
it.
players who have felt left out.
I mean,
Right?
to me,
You've got the
like,
pro players who get their bit in, and they've argued on Twitter and stuff as well. And then you've got you can't ignore them. You can all get insulted to the Game Pass players and the casuals and the ones that will pop on for one game, get pissed off they lost, and jump on to Destiny or something else or anything else, whatever they can find in Game Pass, and call them noobs and whatever and that. But if they're not in there playing the game and enjoying it, then that's not going to help population or the the life of the game or the the popularity and the spreading out, is it? So you've got, like you said, so many plates to spin and try and keep happy. And when one
to
hits the
me,
floor and cracks,
like,
everyone hears it.
Exactly. Like, to me, Gears is literally like Quake, with like how the player base works, the amount of players that it has, in terms of it's an arena shooter that has a massive skill gap where you're either really good or you're crap. The good players will always dominate. There's nothing you can do about that, and it's hard to get new people in because of that. Because the skill gap is that big, because it has all these unique mechanics, because there's no real transferable mechanics. Like if you play Halo and COD, there is a bit of transferable mechanics there. If you play CS and then Valorant and whatsoever. With Gears, what the fuck does Gears have? You have wall bouncing. You have all these mechanics that are being used in a way that they were never supposed to be used, and that's why it's so hard to get into. And a lot of people don't like the Nasher focus, and they want like a tactical SOCOM game, but it can't be that. Like Gears War is so hard to get into.
People want the Lancer to be better, don't they? And then you've got the people with the Nash that don't like that, and they get upset at that. Yeah, and I was excited back in the days of the tech test when I think they mentioned what was coming in the full release, and they mentioned boot camp. Yeah, I got excited. I thought, oh, great! Finally, someone or the part of the game can teach me how to do this properly. And I didn't realize that actually, no, it just teaches you how to play the campaign, which I mean, it's useful for people who've never played Gears 1 through 4. But I was expecting something different by that name, by that terminology. What it was is basically what all the other games do in the first level, which is introduce you to the controls and aiming and stuffing, and get you
like Titanfall 1 did.
Yeah. But what they've done, they just sectioned it out into this little boot camp section. And
it's so stupid because Gears 1 and 2 literally had the tutorial in the campaign. You didn't have to have a separate section to learn how to play. Like you just did it as you went along. Like you can either be a choice. Like even in Gears 1, it's like, do you want to learn the ropes or go right into the fight? It's like, oh, I can choose. Like, if I'm replaying it, I could pick that. Like in my opinion, as you said, boot camp should have been teach me how to play. How do mechanics work? How do multiplayer work?
Like name of
Gears 2. Yeah. Like Gears 2. Oh, here's an execution game of bots. This is how you play execution. This is what this sound is when you hit someone from far away, because there's execution rules. People learn. Instead, they just go now. It's like, oh yeah, new players don't understand how execution rules work, but you don't fucking teach them. Like they don't know. It's
you've got to read the tips on the loading screen, which now with Series X and stuff are up so briefly. You've got to take a screenshot and read it later.
So in chat,
exactly.
Metnice says it gives content creators a chance to make content on PvP mechanics. I was just thinking, like,
that is true.
So imagine Gear 6, the boot camp is like, you load into boot camp, you have like a 20-second clip of Pete, the Razored Edge, explaining what the execution noise is, or like when you're shooting someone from a distance and you hear that noise saying you can't execute somebody. You have 20 seconds of him explaining it, and then it boots you into a scenario where you get to experience it. Then it goes to this other thing, and maybe CheeseCutta is telling you something about the way fortifications work in Horde, and then you get like a 1-minute thing to experiment with them yourself. So it actually has like basically the content creators integrated into the boot camp, like a pre-recorded thing saying, hey, this is how it works. I think that'd actually be pretty cool.
That would be
followed
funny.
by, do you want to know more? I'm getting Starship Trooper vibes from this.
I think that the boot camp, the idea of that would be really cool, especially for Horde and Escape, provided Escape's actually in Gear 6. But I think that'd be really cool just for beginners and people to learn, because there's a lot of little nuances that even I may pick something up, but I don't know. It's a lot for beginners to learn. It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really neat thing for them to
basically, the reason that anyone found out about Tac-Com was because Gears 4, I basically made Horde Bootcamp videos. Like, I broke down every single detail of Horde and made little bootcamp type videos. But let's wanted to start to wrap up a little bit. I've got one last little topic to talk about here, and that's we have 3 drops left. Operation 7 Drop 2, and then the 2 drops that are coming in Operation 8, or we think it's 2 drops in Operation 8. What do you guys expect to see, both from maps and characters cosmetics perspective, in terms of PvE features and PvP features? What do you guys think we're going to be seeing, or what do you hope that we'll be seeing?